All right, welcome back to the House Judiciary Committee this Thursday morning, February 26th. Now in our journey of data, criminal justice data, we're going to go H410. Just by way of introduction, we've been talking a lot about data needs this morning and what the Division of Racial Justice Statistics has been doing to get to the point where we are getting good criminal justice data. But there's actually data available right now that that can inform the work that we do, and that will be part of this bill that we're going to be walking through. But also, this starts out. This is the bill that deals with recidivism, and it does provide a simplified definition of recidivism. But I will turn this over for the walkthrough to Michelle.
Good morning. For the record, Michelle Chow's Office of Legislative Counsel, and everyone should have a copy of a draft 1.2 strike law amendment to H410. And it is 4 pages long. The first section is creating a new chapter for criminology measures, where you can call it whatever you want, but the chair had asked, like, the idea being that in Title 13, in your criminal title chapter, where we can start to place all of these requirements around data so that it's easy to find for folks. So you see the first thing in that new chapter is a definition section, which I am adding over time. Will get bigger, but right now it only has one definition in it, and it's the definition of recidivism. So recidivism means a relapse into a habit of criminal activity as evidenced by an individual who's convicted of a criminal offense after receiving a criminal conviction for a previous crime. And then you calculate it from the date of the prior conviction to the date of arraignment and finding a probable cause on the subsequent charge. So it's conviction to when you're arraigned on a new charge, and that's how you track it.
I have a question.
You can try me. I don't know that.
I have no poker face either, apparently. Where to go? Into a habit of criminal activity. So if I committed a crime and did it again within the parameters of the definition, does that count as recidivism, just doing it again? Because doing something twice isn't necessarily.
You can play around with this language. This was language that, looking at a variety of various definitions for recidivism it's if you don't like that language, we could try to come with something else. You mean like just if you do something a second time, it's not a habit?
Right.
Is that your point?
I mean, it could just be relapse into criminal activity.
Right.
You don't have to say a habit of.
Yeah, so that's the way, my mind went to a habit is something that's repeated.
More than, right. Okay.
I think it could just be relapse into.
Sure. So I will strike a habit of, so it means a relapse into criminal activity.
Okay. Thank you.
How about that? So remember, you're calculating, and for purposes of this, and then I'm sure, you've heard from all the folks who are collecting data and analyzing the data. You've got CRG in the room as the experts, and, they use different measures for different things. But in terms of like a statutory measure here, you're really simplifying it down from what you have as the current definition in Title 28, which we'll look at in just a minute, or maybe I should just go ahead and skip to there. So I'll show you what you're trading for. You're trading up. Okay, and that's it. And so if you look at page 3, section 2, you'll see some language is just being repealed. So see if I remember. I had in my notes somewhere, and I think I didn't pull them for this morning because I had walked House corrections through it a few weeks ago, but there's this existing definition currently in Title 28 in your corrections title, in the kind of like general chapter right up front of this really kind of complex definition of recidivism. And so if you read through the struck language, So that the department, and when it says the department is talking about DOC, shall calculate the rate of recidivism based upon offenders who are sentenced to more than 1 year of incarceration, who, after release from incarceration, return to prison within 3 years for conviction for a new offense or a violation of supervision resulting in the new incarceration sentence or time served on the violation is at least 90 days. So there's a lot going on in there.
I like the new definition
Right.
for the sole reason is we're working on data all over the place, and we're gonna have, closer to the correct data to determine, how many, what our recidivism rates, and with the correct data, we'll be able to, to apply programs, more accurately and that type of thing.
Right. The new one is much simpler. It's more kind of your common understanding of recidivism,
Sure.
right? Somebody does something, they're convicted of something, and then they wind up back in the criminal justice system again. And it's not complex. It goes from date of conviction to the time of the next arraignment.
Right, and even just came to my mind, potentially somebody who is creating crimes under the new standard, it's all the more chance that they'll get in front of the people they need to get in front of even quicker.
And so my recollection for where this existing definition of recidivism came was quite some time ago. I think before Justice Reinvestment 1, so maybe a couple decades ago. And it was just when the General Assembly corrections costs were skyrocketing. Everybody was looking at how do we, begin getting some really good data to figure out what programs are working, what programs are not working. And I think Senator Sears had gone to like a CSG conference. They were doing a lot of work, even back then on this issue. And I think it was a measure that some other states were using, and it was a way to kind of, people were kind of following one another and modeling. But my understanding is that I don't think that this definition is used terribly.
Is the new definition going back to closer to what it was before?
There was not one.
Oh, there wasn't one?
No, there wasn't one.
Starting point.
Yeah. Or at least not one in statute.
Right.
Right. And so again, I think the data folks can talk to you about is that, it doesn't mean that folks haven't been tracking recidivism prior to that definition coming in. But they would come up like, what's our query in this? And they might define recidivism in a different way, depending on what data they're looking at and what kind of study they're doing. But this is just so we're getting rid of the one in section 2, the Title 28 one, and then we have your new definition in the new chapter for criminal justice data, which is in Title 13. So I'm going to go back to page 1 and looking at line 15, the new section 8122. And this is, these would be annual reports by the Vermont Statistical Analysis Center. So you see subsection 1. So annually on or before, and that's just a date for y'all to let me know what you want in there. The Vermont Statistical Analysis Center shall submit the following reports to the Committees on Judiciary, Committee on Corrections, and Committee on Institutions. And you follow on to page 2.
Before you jump, part of the reason that the data is open is I wanted to understand from CRG, from
Right.
see like when it could be available for the previous year.
Right.
So that's something we'll hear from them.
Sure. So on page 2, you'll see the types of annual reports that they are to issue. So the first one is on bail rates. So it's an annualized report on bail rates, including hold without bail, monetary amounts, and bail posting information. The reports to include data on pretrial detainees held in Vermont correctional facilities, including the crime type and the jurisdiction for which they are held. Okay.
Cool.
Second one is on recidivism. So it would be an annual report on the recidivism rate that measures individuals who are convicted of a criminal offense after receiving a criminal conviction for a previous crime. The recidivism rate shall be calculated annually using a 3-year period. And so I had a question about this. I'm sorry, I meant to ask before. So this is intentionally supposed to be different than the definition of recidivism, where you calculate from conviction to arraignment, or is it not? Is it supposed to be the same?
You're asking me?
I don't
No,
know.
I think it's supposed
I
to be.
have an answer.
Yeah, go ahead and
It
identify
is supposed
yourself.
to be the same. It was gonna be something I brought up to you.
And identify yourself for the record.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm Weaver. I'm the executive director of the crime research group. I was going to bring up in my testimony that the definition at the top was needed to be clarified, because it does need to be conviction to conviction.
Oh, it's conviction to
We're
conviction.
using the arraignment date to understand the chronology of when, if a crime was before or after.
We'll wait.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm gonna wait, and you guys can just tell me how you would like to change it. Number 3 on line 9, arrest and clearance rates. It's an annualized report on arrest and clearance rates, and the arrests are to be organized by crime according to data from NIBRS. And then subdivision 4, and I wasn't quite sure on the phrasing on this, but I put most adjudicated crimes. I'm not thrilled with that, but then I'm also not thrilled with saying the top 10 crimes, because it sounds like, I don't know, you're on Family Feud or something and you're rather than, yeah. But there's 2 reports here. One is a report detailing aggregated information on the number, type, and length of sentences, including fines, for the top 10 crimes adjudicated in the criminal division. So basically, it's like the most commonly charged or convicted or something. I think I just want to flag that as something I don't love the language here in terms of identifying those crimes. I get what CRG is saying in terms of we're going to take the ones that are, is it most charged, most convicted, or whatever they are. But I think maybe in terms of most adjudicated or top 10 crimes, we should just think about and hear from witnesses about something that might be better language. And then the second one is a report detailing the total combined years of probation incarceration sentenced by the court in the prior year. The report shall include an analysis of which crimes and counties contributed most significantly to the sentence imposed. Subsection B on data sharing. This is just saying that basically any state and local agencies that have data that SAC needs in order to be able to complete these reports, that they're to be cooperative and working with SAC to get that information to them.
And that's similar language to what was in. Act
Exactly. Yep. I just borrowed that from Act 40. And we just talked about section 2. So section 3 are the appropriations. And so this is for FY27 monies. And I think it's a question mark still about where the money, I didn't know if it was coming from general fund or where it's coming from. And then it just identifies the amount of money for each of those studies. So $10,000 for the annual bail rate report, $10,000 for the recidivism report, $1,000 for the annual arrest and clearance rate report, and $4,000 for the annual sentencing reports. Those were actually kind of 2 reports that were in subdivision 4. And then, and you don't need 5 anymore. We did have a work group study, and the chair asked you to take that out. I'm sorry, I forgot to take the appropriation out. So you take out the subdivision 5.
That's a nicely detailed appropriation. Usually it's just a lump sum.
See, actually very good.
Yes, they told us exactly what they need.
No doubt.
So we'll get some more input on the language, and we'll work on the language, and we will have maybe some discussion either today or tomorrow morning about what to do with this. So that should be good for now, but this afternoon at 1 o'clock, we'll have further testimony. So unless there are any questions for Michelle on the walkthrough. I think, who do we have? Who do we have? We have Ken McManus, we have somebody. from the Department of Corrections. That's mainly to weigh in on the definition of recidivism. And then we have Monica and Robin, so.
She said you have a question.
Yes.
You brought it up, Michelle. So this definition of recidivism, you also ran it by corrections already? Is that what
I
you're
have
saying?
I've talked to corrections,
Okay.
but this needs to, the whole thing needs to be.
We'll go to that.
by them
Okay,
After we've had our input on it, so.
They had me in, for a discussion of the Title 28 language.
okay, so it just came up during that.
And I've suggested to Alice, I've told her that a suggestion in this bill is to just repeal that.
Okay.
She didn't seem to have a problem with that.
The old
but-
definition.
Yeah, but it'll still have to be run by the commission. Yeah.
So 1 o'clock, you said?
Yes, we're adjourned until 1 o'clock.